Yeah.
All right.
Well,
we are recording.
Welcome back, guys. Yeah, welcome back, guys, to the insurance panel. Or if you're watching what Christian has going on, we're thinking about doing 2 separate videos. We're not really sure. We're just going to start recording. We were talking for about 15 minutes before, and I said, hey, are we supposed to be recording this? Because usually that's where a lot of good conversations happen. So we decided to hit the button. So for those that don't know, Christian Brindle, he used to have hair and then he shaved it all off to the pandemic. Welcome to the insurance panel, my friend. How the heck are you?
Hey, I'm doing awesome, guys. Thank you for having me, and also thanks for being on our channel. Depending on if this goes on both, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
And yes,
it's more fun if we don't know.
Well, I mean, you know, my wife told me during the pandemic, she's like, I got to be honest with you. She's like, you look like shit with hair because your hair's falling out. And I'm like, well, thank you for being so, light about it. Thanks for being kind about it. And so we started shaving it, and she was like, you look better. So I'm like, all right, we're just going to keep it like that and see how that
runs. To be honest, man, it looks natural. It looks like it's always been there. So it looks great.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, and this isn't our first time that we've done a recording. Last time we did a recording, it was me, Nick, and yourself on your podcast. For those that might want to check out his podcast, he does a pretty sweet podcast. Tell us about that, man.
Yeah, definitely. And then, you know, that was back in the dinosaur days before we were doing anything on video. We were doing our interviews. You know, I would basically just get on the phone with people and do interviews. And then I was just like, we need to start doing on video. There's enough is enough. But yeah, I mean, it's a podcast called the Everything Medicare Podcast. It's mainly geared towards beneficiaries. It's kind of been a lead generation tactic for us. We probably, at this point now, it's kind of scaled up quite a bit. It gets about 1,000 downloads a week at this point.
Oh, nice.
And it probably pulls in about 10 to 20 organic leads a month, give or take.
Cool.
And so that's kind of been the purpose of it. But we've got about 205 episodes now. We've interviewed a lot of really great people like you guys, of course. And yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, I think the biggest challenge with something like that, when it's consumer based like that, is you run out of topics very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, it happens on the YouTube side too. Nick and I sometimes just start recording and just start talking about final expense, and the videos end up being great. But when we first started back in 2018, late 2018?
Yeah, late 2018.
Late 2018, we had this laundry list of ideas, but we shot through them pretty quick.
Yeah, I remember we had this this document that seemed forever long. It was like multiple pages of like topic ideas of things we were going to touch on, and we ran through that whole thing like a year ago.
Yeah.
So it happens.
I can relate because so we created the YouTube channel for 6-Figure Medicare Agent, and then we decided, hey, we should make a group around this in like February or something like that. And I kid you not, I had like this never-ending list of topics. I'm like, all right, I got my, video ideas for the next year, 2 years, and we're probably 5 months into it, and I'm already out of ideas.
You know, the crazy part is, and I'll give you this tip, and this is something I learned from Gary Vaynerchuk, is like, you can actually say the same thing over and over. It's just a little bit different in how you say it and your timing. That makes it seem like brand new content.
That is
pulling back the curtain.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Nick and I are going to talk about buying leads every time that you get on the insurance panel. Just go buy leads and go to work.
Go buy leads. Would you please start buying leads already?
Yeah,
please.
And if you come to somebody and someone says, "Hey, what's your budget for leads?" Don't throw out some crazy number. Have a decent budget so we know what to work with.
Yeah. So, kind of piggybacking on the conversation we had before we hit record a little bit. You guys get it probably just as much, if not more than I do, I'm sure. But I swear, if one more person this year contacts me and they're like, what kind of free leads do you provide? I mean, it's just going to drive me nuts. I mean, like I'll tell them, I'll be like, we'll co-op leads for you. I'm like, we'll do free leads for you if you've proven yourself a little bit. We'll help pay for an order here or there. But I'm like, if that's the first thing somebody asks me when they get on the phone, I automatically have no hope that they're going to make it a year.
And it's not, Your attitude towards leads says a lot about your attitude towards the business and what you're going to be successful at. And on the Medicare side, I mean, like, you have more options in terms of leads on the Medicare side in some ways, because you do have the ability to get like carrier co-ops and all sorts of stuff like that. But I remember back when I first was getting started, somebody telling me that back when telemarketing leads, these avatar telemarketing leads were still very popular and legal.
When I ran them when they were legal, and they were great.
Right.
Things.
But I remember somebody who's telling me that they never met an agent who started off needing to run avatar leads because that was all they could afford and that was all they could manage, who ever managed to get themselves off of those, $6 a lead avatar leads. And if you were never able to get yourself off of the $6 a lead avatar leads, you never, ever ended up becoming successful. Now, I don't know how actually true that is, but that's one of those things that stuck in my head. Like, and he said the reason why this seemed to bear out is if you're coming into this business with so little forethought that you don't even have a plan as to how you're going to be able to purchase your leads, and then you get told that you need to do something different, because you are going to get told that you need to do something different, and you choose to ignore that advice and go the cheap route anyway, it says enough about who you are that he said it's like a perfect predictor of whether or not you're going to be successful.
Yeah, that makes sense, because when I first went independent, I think I had like $200 to my name, and I bought a batch of age leads, and I wrote some business, and I still had a little bit of money, but it wasn't a whole lot comparative, because that was like my last $200. But I said, here, try these avatar leads, but you have to buy like 30 a week. You have to, there's no other. And it was like 150, like $200 a week, and that was great. And then he was like, hey man, you need to take a percentage of each of those sales and put it to the side. And when that number gets to be $3,000 or $5,000, we're going to start dropping direct mail. And I want you to be able to keep up with your avatars during that time.
Yeah.
So there was a plan to get out of it. And I was like, sounds good. Yeah. So I guess that's a very good piece of knowledge to have. I wish there was a way. I mean, now if people just want to work age leads forever, that's probably a good tall tale sign. If they
right, yeah. If you're just wanting to work age leads, or if you watch our video that we did with Dusty, and you're like, hey, that's the idea for me, and you want to just work a $75 list and cold call for the rest of your life, that's probably not a great sign either.
Right.
Because not that it can't be done, but it speaks to your mental state,
Yeah, I mean, the way I've always looked at it is you either give up your money or your time, one of the two. And if you're giving up your time, if you're new in the business, and that's all that, maybe you can't afford to give up your money when you first come into the business, and there's people like that, right? Yeah. I mean, when I first started, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was basically helping me pay all our bills. We were sharing an apartment, we were living off credit cards, and so when I started out, we were cold calling, for Medicare supplements, but you don't want to cold call forever. It's a means to an end. You basically want to cold call and build up enough to where you don't have to cold call anymore. You want to graduate at some point. That's the idea.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Speaking of the interview with Dusty, we got an email today, Nick. I don't know if you know this.
I did not look. I have not checked our email yet today.
Yeah, it came in at 110. And speaking of that list, Ryan Schrout. Hey, Ryan. Good morning. I just caught the interview you did with Dusty on door knocking. Crazy good. ... Where is the mail house that he recommended for the list? I'm aware of List Hack, but
List
not
Shack.
many more. List Shack, okay. My current mail house doesn't offer the list in addition. Thanks, Ryan.
That's surprising. Most mail houses do.
They should.
Yeah, maybe you have to ask. I don't know that it's a default. I don't know that it's necessarily a default setting, but I mean, I guess not everybody's going to be the same. All the ones that I know of do. Most of them are happy to sell you their data list.
Typically, yeah.
Need a Lead is great.
Mm-hmm.
Lead Concepts, great.
The Lead Connection.
Lead Connection, great. They'll sell all those. Will sell them to you real quick, cheap too.
Yep, so, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Yeah, so go to those three. Even if you have to drop like 1,000 pieces of mail once every 6 months with those companies just to be able to get access to that list, do it.
Yeah,
and you'll have the list for the year, right? So, but definitely don't just utilize that list only. Buy other leads.
Buy leads, guys. Please buy leads.
Yeah. I mean that's the moral of the story, right? I mean, so the craziest thing to me is, I was looking back at our channel the other day, and I was looking at our popular uploads, and the most popular uploads we have right now are lead videos. Everybody just has this fascination with, lead review videos, and then I think the fourth most popular video on our channel is Nick Frumkin's video.
Yay!
More popular than any interview I've done. I'm like, Nick is money. I need to have him on like every 3 months.
That's awesome. That makes me feel good.
I keep saying it. I'll say it in every video I can. Nick is one of, if not the greatest insurance agent of all time.
He's in the conversation.
He says that, well, humble pie, Nick. Humble pie. You eat it well. So, I mean, no, seriously. I mean, what he's done on final expense and Medicare, for some reason, what I've noticed, including myself, not a lot of agents can do both. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like you choose one or you choose the other. And it's almost like a turning 65 lead. Like you have the option to either go Med Sup or Med Advantage. And it's like once you choose, it's like it's almost impossible to go back because now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have my health license yet. Guys, don't laugh at me. Still.
I've been
we
watching
talked about
videos.
This when we did the interview before.
I know. I know. But if someone's turning 65, they are guaranteed insurability for Med Sup, right?
Sort of.
Open enrollment. Oh, no health questions.
Okay. No health questions. So kind of, but like if you take them out of it, they have to requalify, and it's almost tougher to requalify than it is for a final expense policy.
It's definitely harder to qualify for a fully underwritten Medicare supplement.
See, I can almost talk about it at this point, guys.
You can.
Almost.
You're getting there. I mean, not legally, but
not legally. I cannot sell it. I will not sell it. But when I do get my license, I'm going to be the most well-versed person of all time.
He's going to come right in, and he's going to know it all.
That's true. You could probably pass AHIP right now.
Yeah.
Probably.
You couldn't pass the health license test because you need to know about HMOs and stuff. But
see, what I should have done, instead of taking 8 hours of my day yesterday to get through AHIP, the first day it was available, I should have Venmo'd Matt Murray $500 and my login, and I'm like, just do it. Do it. Get through it. Do it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to know about it. Just do it.
It would have been good for everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I've just noticed that final expense agents just don't do Medicare. And a lot of times when I see Medicare agents, they just don't do final expense.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. And I don't know why. And that's why Nick is so awesome to me, because he has learned self-taught. I don't know if it's self-taught or what, but you figured out how to do both. And that's awesome.
Well, they really go hand in hand, and it's interesting. It's interesting because you're so right. Like I will talk to agents every month that are good final expense producers. They might not be great, but they're making $70,000 a year. They're making a living, and they'll be like, I've liked writing final expense, but I think I want to transition into the Medicare for the renewals. And so the first thing I always say to them is why. Not why do Medicare. I think you should do Medicare, but why not keep doing what you're doing and just add to what you're doing?
Yeah.
It's interesting because they do go hand in hand.
I don't know from a Medicare agent's perspective why you wouldn't. I don't know. So like if you're leading as a Medicare agent, I can see how maybe it's a kind of a difficult conversation to start talking to people about their life insurance. I've never had to try to do it, so I don't actually know. From a final expense agent's perspective, though, it's such an easy conversation to have. You've just had the difficult conversation. You've just talked to them about their death and their burial and their funeral and all the stuff that they don't want to talk to you about. And you've had that conversation, and if you've done a good job, you've made them feel good about it, and like this was not a difficult thing, and it's very easy, and things have gone smoothly. And then, hey, by the way, we also do Medicare. If you'd ever like to talk to me about that, I'm happy to help you with that as well. Is such an easy transition and compliant, totally above board. You're allowed to say that, and then just see how they respond and go where the conversation takes you. You don't, I know there are agents out there that are twisting people's arms to have that Medicare conversation. You don't really need to. Like, if you're really laid back about it and you're just like, hey, this is something we do also, I'm happy to talk to you about that anytime you're interested. They can, you'll get business just asking that question. Just saying, not even a question, just making that statement. I do this also. Here's my card. If you ever want to talk about this, let me know. 1 out of every 6 is going to say, actually, I had a really serious question. I wanted to talk to you about that right now.
Yep.
And then probably another 2 out of that 6 would be like, maybe. And then you can have a conversation about that with them. I don't know. Like, it's such an easy thing.
Someone said Medicare is best run on a final expense chassis.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I like that.
So it's like, the chassis is the main, for those that don't really know cars. I mean, the chassis is like it's the running big part of the vehicle. Everything else is bells and whistles and wahoos. It's like it's the oil that runs the machine is the final expense. It gets your fun money, your go money, your rent money until you bridge the gap into like Medicare and start building up those renewals. And I hate saying the word renewals because it's not a technical renewal. It is a service fee that we get, or you guys get, because you'll have renewals, but it's not a renewal. And a lot of times when people are being pitched about Medicare, they talk about renewals. And it's not like, I tell people, you can't just go sign 400 people up and you don't ever have to work again.
Yeah.
That's incorrect.
Right.
Like, I want to bust that myth real soon because I hate when it's sold that way.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, for us, we have an entire office that's dedicated to servicing our clients year round, and you got to do it. You got to do it because
how many people?
Staff.
Yep.
So we have two basically like assistant like people right now. So we have a what would you call her? An office manager that's at the front of the office all the time. She answers the phone, and then I have a girl that specifically works for me, and she's in the back. And then we probably have about 6 or 7 agents in that use our office periodically in the area. And there's been times where we've had 3 or 4 people in here when the need when the demand is there. Like during AEP and stuff, we'll have seasonal people come in sometimes, and it's a lot of work, to basically keep up with the service of that stuff, because you're 100% right. If you don't, I mean, there could be some people that you'll sign up and you don't talk to them for 10 years and they're still gonna stay because they like their plan.
Right.
But the majority of people are in a 5-year period going to fall off if they never talk to you again.
What is it? I think somebody put on Facebook the other day that the average Medicare Advantage plan is only stayed on for 3.25 years. You get like 3.25 years before a person switches their Medicare Advantage plan on average, and closer to 5 years for a Medicare supplement plan, which frankly makes a little bit more sense. People are probably rolling the Med Supp plans. But it was really surprising to me to see that, there's a good possibility, really, if you're not servicing your book of business and making sure it stays intact, that in 3 years you don't have a book of business anymore.
Well, here's the dummy question: why would they switch if it's the best plan? Is it because plans change over time?
Yeah, plans change all the time.
Got it. Well, now we know.
Something just popped up on my screen.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes.
We got 10 minutes left.
Well, we'll wrap this up in 10 minutes, and then I guess we'll do the second one.
I guess so.
Yeah, we will. We'll be fine.
Well,
don't worry.
So I mean, I think the other thing too that you got to keep in mind is like, if you're writing a Medicare supplement, your commission is either going to go away or go down dramatically after 6 years.
Yep.
Most agents don't realize this, and so. And if you're writing, United Healthcare AARP Medicare supplements, I don't know if I can mention carriers or not. I don't know, but yeah. I just did. But the contracts I think it was 2017, were some of the worst commission contracts in the industry, because for 6 years you'd get your commissions. You probably were making $15, $16 a month in renewals, depending on the state. And after 6 years, you would get cut off completely, where most of the other carriers would lower your commission down to maybe half after 6 years, and you'd get that for up to 10 years. I see a lot of agents that have been in the business since 2013 or so. They might have 50 AARP med subs on the books, and then they have half of them stop paying commissions after a year. They didn't realize, they didn't bother to look at their commissions. You got to go back and move these people too, because your commissions isn't forever on med subs. Most of them.
Yeah. No, and that's why I said it makes sense that it actually sort of makes sense that the average person moves their med sub every 5 years. It is surprising to me how few people actually understand their commission structures, or how they work. And that's across the board. That's through the entire industry. I don't understand that.
That's final expense as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, Medicare, final expense, all over the place. Just do not forget about understanding other people's commission structures. There's a lot of misinformation about other people's commission structures.
How many do you? Hey, Matt, I don't know what's wrong with my commission. I wrote an 82-year-old modified smoker.
Yep.
The other day in final expense. And my commission.
Why did I not get that 125% on that?
What happened? I tell them all the time, dude, you got to read the commission schedule. When we're talking about commission levels, street level contracts, Nick and I talk about all the time, that is for levelized or preferred business, typically between the ages of 50 to 75.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they might go to 80, but sometimes 80.
Sometimes 80. Med subs are very similar to that too. Not with every company, but with a lot of med sub companies, if they're over a certain age, you're going to get less commission too.
Yeah,
that's another great reason why agents like selling Aetna med subs so much, is because they pay the full commission regardless of age. And that's huge. I have a client that I wrote at 87, fully underwritten med sub on Aetna, and the commission is $600 a year in renewals. Something like that. If I wrote it with any other company, it probably would have been half.
Right. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, especially on a med sup where the benefits are standardized, and at that age, the price differences between the carriers isn't going to be huge. You should know how you get paid, because frankly, it does matter. I mean, you need to be taken care of too. This is not charity work. It's nice. It's what is it? John Duggar, regular guest on our show, has said in the past. It's a nice byproduct that we get to help people when we do our job, but we do this for a living. This is how we pay our bills and feed our family. You got to actually get paid.
Yeah.
And then just make sure I'm understanding this right. On Med Advantage, you get paid. Say I enrolled somebody today on Med Advantage, right? The commission runs between the 2nd through the 9th. They run the report, and you get half when it's approved, a certain amount when it's approved, and then the other amount after that 9th in the next commission cycle, which is on a week. You would get paid that following Friday, which is the 15th through the 17th, right?
You're talking about true ups?
Yes.
If they're new to Medicare, turning 65?
Yeah.
So basically, usually the way that it works, you might not even get half up front. It might be a smaller amount. It could be you get $100 up front, and then you get the majority, you get the rest of the 400 later. And I've never really, and I'm sure someone, in the comment section will be like, Christian idiot, it works this way. But I've never understood why you get, in some situations you do get half. and then get the other half later. But there's others where you get $70 up front, 80 and 100. I don't know exactly what determines what the upfront amount is, but it's never the same.
Can anybody in the comments let us know? Let us know in the comments. That'd be great.
Because I don't remember off the top of my head. I would need to go look.
We just talked about knowing your commission structure, guys. Come on.
But yeah, I know, right? Realistically, the Medicare stuff matters a lot less. The Medicare, especially Medicare Advantage stuff, matters a lot less to me. I'm much more worried about my monthly payments from my Medicare Advantage than my upfront advance at this point. I don't pay attention to my advances up front on Medicare at all anymore.
Exactly. And that's what I was saying, like your final expense is your chassis. Like your upfront stuff should come from your final expense commissions, because the average, premium dollar is, I think on national average is like $62 or something like that. And then you multiply it by 12, you get like $720 multiplied by an average commission rate of say 100 with 75% advance. You're looking at $500.
Sure.
Around that, $450, $600 every time you make a sale. It's a lot more than $70. Like that's the money that you need to survive for your income. And then your Med Advantage, once those renewals really start kicking in, or service fees, that's when that's the gravy on top.
Yeah. Or if you're selling during AEP and you write something in October and you don't get paid until the middle of January, so yeah, it's important. So that's part of the reason why I lead with final expense. There are lots of good reasons to lead with Medicare. I had a conversation with somebody else recently about how, if you're leading with Medicare and you know how to cross sell into the final expense and you know how to do it compliantly, and that seems very gray area to me, but whatever. If you know how to do it and you know how to do it compliantly, it's a much easier appointment to set. People want to talk about Medicare. It's easier to get in the door. It's easier to have the conversation. It's easier to build trust because there's a lot more expertise that you have to be showing in order to do a Medicare presentation. And there's a lot of things that set it up to be a much easier sale up front, the Medicare sale. But it is, especially when you're new. So I started in the business mostly as a Medicare agent, right? I was primarily selling Medicare supplements for combined insurance as a captive agent. And it's an uphill battle. Now, I was only on a 10% commission with them. That's what, but it's an uphill battle. You're really playing that long game when you're writing those Medicare supplement policies, and you're going out and you're writing a $1,600 AP Medicare supplement policy and you're getting paid like $160. But you're planning on that to be multiplied by everybody that you wrote that week for the rest of forever. Yeah. It is harder to chip away at that though. Which is why I think that, running final expense as the chassis to the business makes sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned a minute ago, Nick, about, from a final expense agent's perspective, in terms of coming into the Medicare. I think from a Medicare agent's perspective, I think a lot of them kind of look at it because Medicare is a pretty easy thing to sell when you think about it. Because they have to get it from somebody, Right. People don't have to buy final expense. It's greatly encouraged that they should, but it's not something they have to get, or that they're penalized. And there's all these, things that kind of deter them, if they don't pick it up. I think from a Medicare agent's perspective, they get the sale, and I think they're just intimidated from that point of going back and getting something that's probably looked at as a more difficult sale after that,
All right, let's pause right there, and we'll pick back up with part 2, focusing on Medicare agent's perspective, and we'll do part 2 because we're
cut this out, Ryan. This little part.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For part 2, make sure to head over to the Insurance Panel YouTube channel that Nick and Matt actually run and host. And we're going to have the second part of this video uploaded and available on that channel. So make sure to go watch that. The link to it will be down in the description. Thanks so much for watching.